how should Christians look at the essence of Easter? That Christ came to die for my sins, and what else?
Well, the whole essence of Easter is predicated on the fact that man sinned, and man didn't have the wherewithal to help himself from his sins. Man had everything. He had the knowledge to invent, innovate, create, but man didn't have the resources to cure the problem of sin. So God became a man in the person of Jesus Christ to die on behalf of man as a substitute. All right, so Jesus died on our behalf, was buried, and on the third day he rose triumphantly, defeating sin, death, and the grave. So every year, Christians all over the world, and non-Christians alike, stand still at the time of Easter to recognize that there was a time when the Savior of this world came into this world, died, rose again, and the Christian faith is predicated on those events, which begins with the incarnation, where God became a man. The book of Isaiah says his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. So Jesus is Mighty God, Jesus is Everlasting Father, Jesus is the Prince of Peace, which means therefore that the birth of Christ, which we call a birth, was actually an incarnation, a miracle. Because Mary said to the angel, how can these things be, seeing I know not a man? So there was no will of man involved, because John 1:12 and 13 says that Jesus was made not of the will of man, nor of flesh, nor of blood, but of God. So that's why the best way theologically to look at it is what we call the incarnation, a miracle, a fusion of deity into humanity for the purpose of giving legality to the work of redemption. Man sinned, man died to save man from sin. That's the whole concept of the Easter. So it begins with the incarnation, the descent of God into humanity, the death of Jesus, his burial, and his resurrection, and consequently his ascension to the right hand of majesty on high. That's why that event sets the tone. It sets the foundation for all of Christian belief, all of Christian practice, and guarantees eternity with God.